Oh, hi. All these windows in the way I didn't even notice. Well, as you can see, I am doing coding. More precisely, I am importing the last new weapon pack into Server 1.6, and then we'll be done. I'm importing it in parts, though. I think after this, I still have some war axes. I don't think there's any war hammers from this. No war hammers, but there's, I think, three. It looks like 3 axes left to add after I add in this hammer. And there's just enough space for our current hammer. So, do that. I've just been slapping them onto the end. Honestly, it's a hassle to rearrange all this. Because, as you can see, if I modify any kind of ordering in this script, I have to edit it in this script, I have to edit it in this script, and I also have to maybe edit it in this script, and this only cares about total amounts, so this doesn't care about order. But yeah, because of that, I have to adjust all the indices around, and as I said, it can be a pain in the ass to try and change the ordering. Alright, where are they? Only have 7 options per. 4, 5, 6. 7 with no steel, so fine steel is right out. And then we slap that on here, so now I deleted that one empty space. Oh, I should not have gotten rid of the comment there, because we do not have a next page. Alright, that should do. Also get rid of the object window, because that's just obstructing chat. Anyway, once I'm done with this bit of coding, we will go on to looking for fish. Alright, just one weapon to test this load is hammer. Yeah, I want to call it a ball peen hammer, but I don't know. I don't actually clearly know what a ball peen hammer looks like. This just feels like ball peen hammer is an apt name. Of course, random is up to date. Might as well give a quick rundown on the other one. So I've been adding blunt weapons to this. I went out and purposefully looked for blunt weapons, so we have... There's 3 more war axes to add, which you'll see, but we got canabos now. The mod calls them maulers, but these are very much canabos, even if they're a bit small. You know, I might push the stream to a bit later if these people are going to be assholes even later into the day now. But they can't go out. Normally they'd all be asleep by now, but no, everybody's wide awake. Alright, is that used? Actually. Yeah, copper. And we get steel. And the fine steel. Which is looking a bit marred, honestly. That black mark. Ah, maybe that's intentional, it's just the lighting. Oh no, it actually is a bit off on our side. On the others, it looks fine. That's... weird. Spine steel, and then the last one, marble. So those are... Wait, do I have any other Warhammer besides Canava? No, that was it. Okay. Then we have some battle axes. This one clips a bit through the fingers, but whatever. And then for the current pack I'm adding, which are very plain weapons for the most part. I just showed the new mace. Were there other ones that I added? No, that was it. Yeah, more axes. We just have... I have 3 more to add from the current pack, and then that will be that. And get ready for release. Yep, there we are. Yeah, I may push start time back by like a half hour or something. Really have to wonder how much of that got picked up on the mic. Probably more than half of it. They keep shaking the house. All complaining aside, now I have 3 war axes to add. Now the thing I'm really concerned about the entire time is this script is almost over capacity. Set model 2. I'm really concerned. I may need to make a set model 3 before we're done. Alright, we're into bows there. So what I'm really looking for is this 3. I'm adding them before I've even... I'll leave that as is. Not actually. Think of the names they're supposed to have. There we are. So now those names are there. And we have the big ass function. Before I get onto that, I need to get onto this. Alright, so the mithril axe in there, but otherwise the other ones are in here. And I think they share textures. Let's see, copy those. Now we have not short sword axe. Now that bitrate falls because somebody's doing a lot of uploading. I can guess who. Anyway. Yeah, RD Beard Axe, which is... Did I already import that into two-handed? Yeah, I did. I bring it over to the main screen you're showing, but it's crowded enough as is. Just know I'm looking at textures on the other side. Yeah, there's the sword textures, the hammer textures that are somehow unused. And that's it. So we're just reusing text stuff from one-handed. I really do need to push this back a half hour or something. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so frick, I forget how to find it. There we are. Goes what properties? So I will bump this up to 815. So we'll start at 830 from now on. It's almost 8, it's 812 right now, so I wonder if this will double start. Probably not, but you know. Anyway. Where was it? Oh, right. Textures. What? Yeah. Doesn't really matter which slash you use, actually. Like, I put them into just Deuceverion, except Adnes has completely flooded this with reusing these for everything. Just, ugh, God, I hate how he does textures. Like, I'll freaking find one. Hopefully this is the right one. Yeah, it has like fucking 5 textures. No, 6 textures. I mean, look, he's using a War Axe texture, a sword texture, a War Sword texture, the Mace texture, and then another War Sword again, and the third War Sword. Uh, like, smart reusing of textures on his part, but like, for me, for editing them, it is just, fuck. Uh, Anyway, that. Okay, so that should. Oh, and actually change the slashes too. Alright. Got that one. Let me go into the steel arcs. And then the mithril axe does not actually have. Or does it? Did I put it in there out of laziness or no? No, it's not in there. Oh, and I closed out the. Not in here either. And I have to reopen it. Alright, first things first though. I still have the texture path on the clipboard. Alright, change it to Warax, 1H. We are. Okay, already Mithril X. Copy that and paste it here. And that should be the last I need. Just updating the change log. Yeah, workbook doesn't need updating. Not yet, anyways. Unless you want me to, like, want to see me completely release 1.6 on stream, then that would be something. I don't know, I might, I might just do it. I would like to get this out there. This is potentially the final update. Only potentially, though. So all these are updated, that's fine. Icon paths, I'll keep. Textures we won't need anymore. Oh boy. There's a real hope I don't need to make set model 3. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Oh, so close. So close. Alright, so first one actually, because they're used between them and it's not flooded, I put them in the base folder. And alright, cool. QL here, and hopefully back. Yeah, that takes me back. Okay. Sorry, Mythax. Because it's mythical. Alright, now I need to set the models for that because the icons are good. One H iron beard axe. Energy 1H steel beard axe. And then the already 1H myth beard axe. Or just mithril axe. Alright. Wow, this is getting dangerously close. Alright, then you change all the indices. This is the part that makes it a real pain in the ass to shift around the ordering, because I have to now change all the indices afterwards. This is why the types are divided into thousands, so I don't have to change war axe ordering, I don't have to change mace ordering. And bow ordering, staff ordering, because they'll come after war axes. Wait, that should be 22. And 23. And that's that. Yeah, okay. So model 2 is done. I preemptively did this. I didn't change the indices though. I have to do that. 15. And then we have to go down to the vanilla stuff. So I sought to save code space by just having some massive if statements here. Because they're all named the same. It's all the vanilla stuff. We're talking 9,000s, right? Okay, so when's iron actually start now? 15. Yeah, there is no fine iron bow. That's why that's missing. Oddly enough. Also, I don't think there's like any rusty models. I don't think they ever made those. They called it rusty in game and they give it rusty stats, but there actually is no model for rusty iron. I don't think there's even a model for fine iron. It's just steel. Fine steel has its own models for some reason. Anywho, that updates that. Now I want to go into random object because we are at 23 now for the index. And then back to show model. Yeah, faster forward and 2 enter makes it easier though, kind of. It's a bit awkward going through and changing all the indices. I have to go down one and then back up for the other. But since they're basically the same sort, they share names, so that's nice. If I had some vectors, some multi-dimensional vectors to draw from, this would be so much easier, because then the model name could just like freaking point to the spot in the vector, and that spot in the vector would hold the model path, the icon path, name, weapon type, and then I just changing the ordering in the vector would just take care of everything. I wouldn't have to change 3, 4, 5 scripts. I could just change one vector. Everything else would update. Now, I might be able to do that with OBSE arrays, because I'm just now starting to understand how they really work, and therefore make use of them. So I'll try it for the next mod, but this one, that's just too much work to redo. Alright, so we need an extra War Axe page. Page 4, that should be a 6, and these should be 7s. And this here is a 3. Okay, so we're going to move all of it. Yeah, whatever. That down, because the vanilla stuff is always last. And then we are adding in 3, the iron, steel, and mithril. Notice I need to move these down, so... Alright, so iron, steel, and that should be 7. Yeah, 7. And then we put in here mithril. Then we paste those in. Alright, so now we need to chop off the last 3. We can just delete those. Delete that comment, because we do have next page now. And then we just go in here and delete everything except for the glass and above. Then we add in the empty spots here. Makes it easier for me whenever I expand the list next. So I can just get rid of the comment, fill in these. I know exactly how much. I don't have to count again. Speaking of counting, you make sure that page 3 has 7. That's 7. Okay. I don't determine the amount per page. You can have at maximum 10 buttons in a message box. That is an engine limitation. And we're using up 3, so we can have cancel, previous, and next. Which leaves 7 for actual model options. What's really nice though about factoring out the code though is there's so much less to change. Because I made the model page function that has made my job of adding new pages so much easier. Just have to put in dividers for the 2 variants. So I can't believe I found that many staves though from like 3 mods. Armamentarium, I kind of avoided it because I remember looking like, oh, that seems kind of popular. I look at it and it's just like retextured vanilla armor, not actual new messages, it looks like. Just turned me off because I was looking for stuff that's not vanilla. But that same author went and made some staves beforehand, and baby, a lot of staves. I had to cut out more than half of those because I don't have space for them. technically we do have space for them, but it's just, those lists would get stupid long. Anywho, where were we? Right, axes. Sure, that's probably saved, and now we go in game and test. Iron, steel, and mithril war axe. Warhammer, war axe. Now, if I had it in me to go and like actually redo the listing, I'd put iron and steel right at the top, because that's how I did it for blades. Like the default materials, but for non-vanilla were always at top. That's how I did it back then. But right now, it's just... You saw how much shit I had to have to move around. I have to move around the entire list, which I don't want to do. Ugh. So I'm just gonna leave it as is. Like, fuck. Anyway. Not sure if I want to move up the grip, though. Or move down the grip. You are on the leather. You can just barely see the top of it above the thumb. Like a few lines of pixels. But still, feels a little high. Steel is fine. Steel has always just been fine as is from this mod. And then we got... Hold on. Oh, okay. For some reason I thought we repeated a page, in which case I got the indexing wrong. It's mithril, which is weird as fuck. Yeah, gosh. I also might scale this down a bit, because that's a pretty thick handle. But like aside from the handle, the rest of it's even feels a little small though. Well, there's here. Oh, it's already a freaking 0.9. Oh boy. That pings from our escalation group. Which I'm curious, what does one look like? That's probably way too thick for the hand though. So let's bring it down to a 0.85. The beauty of new scope and the matches is you don't need to restart the game. See changes, you just need to re-equip it. Let me show you. Let me give you a really obvious example. Like a really obvious example of what I'm talking about. Yeah, you don't need to like do anything, you can just... You just need to re-equip it. So, 0.8. Which is looking a lot better. Like a lot better. Maybe 0.85. Yeah, no, I kind of tried to preserve what they... It still feels too wide to me. 1.8, and we'll leave it at that. Alright, so that's that. Now I have some new axes. And random should be sorted too. really are a lot to sort through. Like, a lot. Yeah, random and sorted. Only thing I'd want to try and take a peek at is moving up iron. Which would be... yeah, like that. Yeah, it's more centered rip. I don't know if I like that more or less, though. It being up that high, though, I like less. So I'll bring it down to 25. And if I don't like that, we'll just keep it 24. There is 24.5, but I won't bother going that fine, because we can go up to like 4 decimal places. I'm not going to be that perfectionist about it. You probably actually got it aligned with the third-person hand, which is a little bit off from where the first-person hand is. You can see it mostly with two-handed variants. With this one, you can see the second hand is pretty close to the butt. Going to first person, it's just a little bit farther. It probably is. First person is pretty dang close to third in terms of what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know if I want to keep it like this. If I want to bring it back up, or down, or whatever. Because this does match the two-handed variant. If I go 24. Just still feels like a high grip is all. Hi. Welcome. Showing some finishing touches on a mod. Debating how high I should grip the axe. Would it be this high or the other high? I don't know. I don't know, I can think about it later. For now, let's hit up two-handed iron. I've always wanted to lower this, but then I look at it in third person, and I'm like, oh, right, I can't lower it too much without the left hand going off. Or looking off, because first and third don't look exactly the same. Unfortunate. There's barely enough space on here for two hands. I think that might actually be my answer. I think I will lower it, or raise it. And there we are. Yeah, thanks. I don't know if you mod Oblivion, but it's... where's the page? No, not that. This is what I'm praying for. It's this one, this mod. So I'm preparing 1.6 for it. To which end? I'd like to close it without the game open, because if I try to do some save stuff with the construction side open, that could corrupt files. So that's fine. You're done with the code. Just, yeah. Save. And close that out. Changelog? I'll finish changelog a bit after stream. I guess we're playing with 1.6 now. I mean, I could finish the release work now on stream, or I could wait till after and we can get on with looking for this fish person. Right, so we're currently working on the Stranded Light mod, since I know you're new here, because I don't recognize your name at all. And with that, we have just gotten a City of Mirkor rebuilt, and our bookseller has a missing shipment. Any tips? Any tips for what? Alright. I guess I'll wait for elaboration. So the bookseller ordered a weird book that may be non-canon from some Malmer, and their shipment went missing, so I'm looking for the Malmer crew. And I looked around, asked some people, and some of them saw one of the Malmer, who may have the book, may not enter the Shivering Isles, so here we are, looking for a Malmer. If you're looking to get better as a combatant in the game, well, first off, you do want to focus on combat skills because of level scaling. If you're really bad, you can always reduce the slider. I have it up because I'm just overpowered as fuck at this point. I am level 106, so things just die too easily at the normal difficulty. But enough with the bragging. You'll want to pursue spellmaking. Since every skill up will contribute to your level, there is, if you don't use a mod like realistic leveling and instead deal with vanilla stuff, you may want to pursue efficient leveling, maybe not. Everything I've heard, efficient leveling is a bit of a nightmare, because basically you can only get, every skill you increase will contribute towards the attribute bonuses you can pick when you level up, but each bonus can only go up to +5, and you can get +5 for everything when you level up. But the thing is, those don't roll over into the next level if you don't use any. So efficient leveling is about leveling up your skills just enough to get +5s for only 3 attributes. So you have no wasted skill ups for leveling up. Realistic leveling just does away with all of that by reverse engineering your attributes from your skills. So I just level up the skills, and then these get adjusted accordingly. But even within that, there still is level scaling, so the higher my level gets, the tougher enemies become. So you want to pursue skills that are immediately useful to combat, especially early on. I think once you're around level... once you're in the mid-20s... Okay, so... yeah. There's a debate about whether you should or shouldn't do efficient leveling, because it really saps the fun out of the game, and also will create a character that's just good at everything. So there's also a line of argument to just ignore efficient leveling, level up whatever the heck you want, and have a character that has weaknesses. Play it a little bit more like D&D in that way. But in that sense, you'll want to level up only skills that are directly relevant to combat until you're in like the mid-20s for levels, because that's when you hit the highest tier of enemies and loot, and things won't get that much harder statistically. But I know in this playthrough, and it was a while back, you're gonna have to look back like half a year on my YouTube channel for the archives to see it, but I was like level 13 and getting like 2-shot by mountain lions because I trained speechcraft and mercantile a lot. So I had barely any combat skills to back me up. Now I don't take damage. Because I just don't take damage at this point. What the fuck? I don't take fall damage, I don't... Oh, you still take fall damage because I have a mod that changes how it works, but I don't take damage because my acrobatics is too high. I don't take normal damage because I have maxed out resistances, and then I have HP regen. It's just... things are retarded now. Yeah, so we want to... Having athletics as a main skill is a good thing to get, even though it's technically non-combat, and that's because it affects your movement speed and your fatigue regeneration, while running specifically. If you're only walking to places, then athletics doesn't matter. But athletics levels incredibly slowly unless it is a major skill and you have combat specialization, those two things together. Otherwise, athletics just takes forever. After that, you want to pick one, either blade, blunt, hand-to-hand, maybe marksman. If you think you're good at playing keep away with enemies, then I think not having a melee skill is fine too. Alteration can give you some good exploration stuff and shield spells to make up for a bit of a lack of armor. Heavy and light armor if you don't plan to use the shield spells. Restoration is kind of a must unless you really stock up on potions. Okay, know that this is at least moderately modded, so there are some guilds you won't have in vanilla. But these are all the guilds I'm in, so that's modded, that's modded, that's modded. This is vanilla arena. That's modded. This is the guild I'm working on right now, that's also modded. Or the dragon. I think that was vanilla. Virtuous Blood, I think, was also vanilla. Yeah, that was. Knights of the White Stein is vanilla. Mages Guild is vanilla. Fighters Guild, Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, Knights of the Thorn, Nine Defiant. Okay, Disciples of the Moment is modded, but all the rest above it are vanilla. Bound glitch? Oh, gosh, I forget what the bound glitch was. Was that like where you permanently keep the bound weapon? I forget what that was. It was either where you could like keep summoning and repairing it to drain your armor to train your armorer skill because they come in at like 100 durability, or you. No, it's probably one where you keep it forever. It doesn't desummon. Yeah, I think that should do you well until maybe about level 15, because I think the bound gear is around Dwarven or Elven tier in terms of stats. Yeah, bound armor. I'm really glad they made it scale in Skyrim, but it doesn't really scale in Oblivion, which makes it really useful at the starting level, low levels, but really not at high levels. Yeah, what will eventually become very broken by the end game, I'd say two things. One, your resistance, because 85% damage reduction, which is the hard cap in the game, is still really high. You don't take much damage at that. And then there is destruction magic, because I have this on my weapon. Weakness to magic. That actually stacks with itself. So if you keep inflicting weakness to magic on an enemy over and over again, it'll... Well, your 100% will become 200%, and then the 200 will become 400%, and then 800%, and 1,600%, and it'll just keep going until you finally cast your 1 point fire damage spell that will then instantaneously kill them. That's how you can break the game once you get to higher level. But at mid-level... What skills? As I said, Restoration, if you don't carry potions, because HP doesn't regenerate unless you want to use the wait command a lot, because that does full heal you, but does spend in-game time. If you want to train athletics, never fast travel. A speechcraft you should probably ignore. Well, it can be quite useful to get more information out of people and have a bit of an easier time with quests, because this can contribute to your level if it's a major skill, but it doesn't affect combat at all. So it leads into that enemies start outpacing you in their power gains. And you get where I was at level 13, getting 3 shot by Mountain Lion. Oh boy. You'll have to join the Mages Guild, because they are the biggest seller of spells. Every guild hall has someone who sells spells. I think Bruma is a general guild hall. They should have some conjuration spells, a bit from every school. I'm trying to remember which guild hall, guild chapter was conjuration, though. I know Skingrad was destruction, Anvil was restoration. I think Shaden Hall was alteration. Leon was mysticism. So then it was either Coral or Breville that was conjuration. I think Breville is illusion, so it's probably Coral that's conjuration. Although I do know that at Skingrad there is the Summon Frost Atronach spell. One of the mages at that chapter, so basically visit every town's chapter of the Mages Guild and just check out for conjuration spells. So if my deduction's right, Coral should have the most conjuration spells, but they may not necessarily have the bound spells you're looking for. I know Bruma has a handful because they have a handful of everything. Other than that, it's keep your eye out with the Mages Guild. And if there are the discount spells at Imperial City, in the Market District, probably not what you're looking for, but that is another place to get spells, especially if you're not part of the guild. Alchemy can actually be kind of useful. Alchemy effects can reproduce the effects of all 6 other schools of magic. It's just that it's a very different way to go about them, where you need to find the materials and prep the potions. It's kind of like preparing for things beforehand, as opposed to just learning a bunch of spells and then using them when you need them. Different way to go about it, but you can get all the same effects, which also means if you do major in a school of magic, then alchemy also feels a bit redundant, because you can get all the same effects, but with your magicka pool. Illusion can be neat with the light spell, but you probably don't need light on vanilla. There really aren't any super dark places in vanilla Oblivion. Same with Night Eye, there aren't any really super dark places. But you do get Paralyze is very powerful. Paralysis Money Trick, I don't even know what that is. Actually, let's use one of the newer forms. Two-hander. Not a Kanaba. It's one iron. I like this. Yeah, I do know spellmaking can get very broken once you have that unlocked, and that is once you become an official member of the Mages Guild. Once you do all the recommendation letters and gain access to the Imperial University, or you just get Frostcrack Spire, because you can get a spellmaking altar installed there. In which case you don't need to be a part of the Mages Guild at all. But you will need some cash to get that upgrade bought. But yeah, the spellmaking can make your own spells, and that'll let you get the real broken combinations, because the vanilla stock spells, they aren't necessarily the most efficient. Like, you can make a stronger, say, flare spell that's still novice tier, but deals more damage. Like, I think you get 6... It's like 6 points of damage in vanilla. But you can actually go up to like 10 points fire damage before it becomes Apprentice. So, that's one way spellmaking is really useful. The other is you can put like 1 second paralysis into literally all your spells, allowing you to stun lock everything. Alright, without the shield I think I'm at like 56. I think I'm at, yeah, 56 armor. Yeah, that's why I'm a one-hander. Oh well. Actually, am I out of charges already? I am. If I had a greater soul gem, I could use that. Oh well, 30 uses it is. I will say, money, I'd say, serves you well up until around level 12-ish, because for some reason, shopkeepers never sell ebony, daedric, or glass armor. They only sell like up to elven, and you may rarely see dwarven. So beyond that point, I'd say hoarding cash won't do you too much unless you're an alchemist or an enchanter. Because then you want to buy soul gems or buy ingredients, put down time foraging. And just how weakness to magic is a pretty broken thing to build into your spells and enchantments, where resistance to magic is also pretty broken, because apparently everything that's not just straight physical damage counts as magic damage. So you'll actually become immune to poisons too, as well as magic at the same time. I've just been kind of mindlessly wandering around. I should probably start to think about where my armor would be. Which would be by the water, because there are the sea elves. Ah, there's a lot of water though. There's a lot of water in Dementia. Oh, I hope there's somebody I can ask, but there probably isn't. That's why I have to tech life on all the time. If I ever come across them. Oh, I got a charge already. Oh, and without mods, the level cap is like around 60, maybe 70 tops. Depends on what your starting class and race are. Because if you're aiming for the highest level cap possible, you want to pick the lowest skills you have as your major skills, so you get the most increases. Oh, and when it comes to class, until you're comfortable with the system, you should pick one of the default classes, because none of them are particularly bad. Like, they're good suggestions, they aren't optimal, but they aren't bad either. So they're solid picks if you really don't know what to do. But that custom class feature is really alluring, I do admit. And once you know what you're doing in terms of skill choices, then custom class away. But start off with a default class. Maybe the one Boris recommends you, maybe not. I want to race. Well, I personally have a thing for Bretons, and that's because of the 50% resist magic that they have. So it's a lot easier to get to that 100%. However, pick whatever race you want, I'll say. They all have their ups and downs. I know one with a larger downside would be Altmer, because I think they actually get some weakness to magic in exchange for higher max magicka. And intelligence, maybe. Imperials, it's their province, so you'll have better standing with everyone. As far as stone goes, I'd lean towards the ones that give you stat boosts over ones with active effects like the Lover Stone, because assuming you play to a high level point, assuming you try to do everything on one character, you'll eventually get spells that do the same thing you'd get from the major powers. Or you could make spells that do the same thing. Which is why the active effect ones, they're good for low level, because you're using mid-tier or even high-tier spells at level 1 with no cost, but later on they become kind of useless because you can actually get the spells that they have the effects of. The only one that's kind of a bad choice is the Atronach, because having stunted magicka really does hinder you. It makes for a very interesting playthrough, because you really have to change how you play when you have a very limited magicka pool. So that is a deliberate choice, but if you're trying to not do a challenge run, then I'd avoid Atronach. So race would be pick whatever you want, or whatever you like. If you want to go for a bit more broken defensively, I'd say Breton because of the resist magic. And class, I'd say a default class. Just go through the list, don't pick custom, just pick whatever calls out to you, or whatever Boris recommends at the end of the tutorial. And then, as I said, for stone, lean. If you don't plan to play through up until the high levels, if you plan to make a bunch of characters and not necessarily go through everything with them, then it's fine to pick whatever stone aside from Atronach. But if you plan to have a character that does everything, then you're better off picking one that gives you some passive stat boosts, like the Lady or the Warrior or the Thief. Since those birth signs will never become moot as you get more spells. Since, like, the Lover or the Shadow, like, the Shadow gives you an invisibility spell. You can get invisibility spells from Illusion. At which point the power just becomes like, oh, you get a free cast once per day. But you can also get your magicka to the point where free cast means nothing. Let's look this up on UESP. Because UESP is probably a go-to source for game information. Well, for some reason it goes to the mobile site now. I don't quite understand that. I don't quite understand why they made this change. Maybe most people are going for mobile. Maybe they go to .com. It's probably a wrong address. Nope. Okay. It's .net. Let's see. Yeah, birth signs, there is. Yeah, it should look like this, but I don't know why. It doesn't. Alright. They don't have a nice list, do they? So Apprentice is a ballsy one, because we have weakness to magic 100%, but you do get 100 extra magicka, which I think doubles your basic amount. Atronach is for challenge runs, because you do not regenerate magicka at all, but you do get 50% spell absorption, which gives you a 1 in 2 chance to just absorb whatever spell you get hit with, which means you want to get hit by spells in the first place, and then just roll the die. And if it absorbs, then it restores your magicka. If not, then you have stunted magicka, so you can't regenerate it. The lady is what I'm using, which gives you 10 points willpower and endurance. Willpower will increase your magicka regen rate, and endurance gives you more max health. The Lord it's an alright one. It gives you a lesser power, which is one that you can spam. It gives you a restore health spell, so if you don't want to pick restoration or if you find it tedious to grind, this can give you a pretty decent heal self method. Only costs 50 magicka. Which, I mean, it's a lot at the beginning, but it's static, so as your pool gets larger, as your willpower gets higher, it should be fine. But you do have weakness to fire, which may be a problem in the Oblivion Gates when you're fighting a bunch of fire Atronachs, but you should outlevel those, and then you only have to worry about... Just be careful of fire, but it's not too big of a weakness. It's not like 100% weakness to magic. That's kind of debilitating. And there's the Lover, which is at paralyzed 10 seconds. If you're a Master of Illusion, you can make the same spell. So this one becomes kind of redundant later on. The Mage is just a safer apprentice. You get 50 points magicka and that's it. Ritual is... Yeah, if you really don't like undead, but you want to keep fighting them, then I guess this is it. That's a max level turn undead. Serpent... one greater power. That's a lot of effects, though. But still, greater powers... you really don't end up using them much. Same with Shadow. It's a greater power to cast a 1 minute of invisibility. You can get a spell that does the same thing. Eventually, if you go with Illusion. Steed's Fortify Speed 20 points. That's actually really good. Speed is worth a lot in this game. Not only do you go places faster, but also because you don't get slowed down like in Skyrim while attacking, that means you can actually do what I've been doing. If you notice, I attack and then I step back. Or you can just dart in and out if you have high enough speed. Also, if you have high enough speed, you can also circle people, and the AI can't actually turn fast enough to hit you, so you can just never get hit while running on them. So speed's really nice to have. And there's a Thief, which gives you the most benefit out of all of them in terms of just sheer points. 10 agility, 10 luck, 10 speed. Luck is kind of iffy. What luck does is it gives an invisible modifier to your skills if it's over 50 and an invisible detriment if it's under 50. So like you'll deal more damage if you have over 50 luck. You'll also deal less damage with less. So, but it doesn't go above 100 points. So once you've mastered all your skills, that luck bonus becomes moot because you're adding on to 100, which the game then just cleaves off and caps it at 100. So again, luck is more helpful for lower level characters than it is for higher level. But agility and speed are good. Agility should reduce the amount you get staggered and knocked back, but we still don't know what the exact formula is for knockback in Oblivion. This many decades later, we still don't know. The loading screen says that agility determines how often you get staggered, but we don't know what the formula is, so we're just going to take that at face value. So agility should reduce the amount of knockback you take, and it also increases your damage with bows. And then there's Warrior, which is 10 endurance, 10 strength, which is good because strength increases your melee damage and endurance increases your max health. That's a nice starter birth sign. And the Tower gives you an open lock spell. Which again, if you take up Alteration, I think it was, you can get the same spell. It's like a Journeyman or an Expert level spell. But with this, you'll have it at level 1, so. I'd say like Warrior, Thief, Steed, and Lady are good picks. a Lord if you don't want to have to worry about healing. I'd avoid Apprentice and Astronaut unless you're looking for a challenge run. Mage, you can choose if you really want to be a spellcaster. Ritual if you want to roleplay someone who hates undead, I guess. Shadow you can just get illusion spells for. And Tower you can just get alteration spells, but again, if you don't want to pick alteration, then, you know. Or you could get really good at lockpicking skill, then that kind of makes the whole spell moot. You may see me just face tank magic. That's because I am immune to magic at this point. I have been for a long time. But I still try to like sidestep it every now and again just to keep myself a bit more engaged. So the AI actually like perfectly aim at where you are. There's, unlike Skyrim and other games, they don't have random deviation on their shots. So they'll always aim exactly where you are. So if you want to dodge projectiles, you should do just a little strafe back and forth, side to side. You can do it with a joystick too. It's actually found it easier to do with joystick, honestly, for fooling Oblivion's AI, but for other games, especially if it's online, keyboard's usually better since you have actual key presses to snap pivot. Just confuses the AI because basically they assume I'm going to keep moving to the left or right. Doesn't change direction. But the aim where I was going to be. Yeah. There we go. And again, I'm just randomly going where my feet take me. Oh, that's right, he's bad. Forgot about that. Another thing you can do, I have a mod that changes combat a bit to be faster in general. But one of the things is that blocking an attack will cause the attacker to recoil in vanilla combat. And you have enough time from that recoil to get in either 2 hits with a longsword or faster, or just a power attack. So you can just do block, hit, hit, block, and hit, hit, and block, hit, hit, and do that rhythm the entire time. It's a bit dull, but it does get the job done. A more fun way is to make use of your speed stat and just run in circles or back out and run in, and back out, and then run in and back out. That's more active than just the whole block dance, block and counter. I really don't know where this malware could be, and I haven't been searching all that efficiently. I have to start coming up with a system. Ah, there's just so much water, though. I'll start at the fringe. Maybe I should increase the difficulty slider to 100%. I'm heading south. I need to start heading north. Or should I be heading straight north? I don't know if I'm on Vytharn's whole... Is it Vytharn? Zillion? Pinnacle Rock? Pinnacle Rock. I think it was Pinnacle Rock. At the tip of that will jut south. I think I know where I am. Right, and the basics of how my mod works is it's so that you know a bit more of what you're seeing. It's a growth weapon, so the more you hit things with it, the stronger it gets. So it's a weapon that grows with you over time. As you've already seen, I can change the form of it to one of a lot of models that I have to pre-code in. Then at preset intervals, it gains an enchantment, and it only grows one enchantment at a time. So right now it's growing these are also preset bundles that I set up. So the Volt enchantment gives me shock damage, weakness to shock, and weakness to magic. Those effects will grow as the weapon levels up. The rest of these are different bundles, like there was Mage Slayer for damage magicka, dispel, and silence. What's it called? Burden or slow? Weaken. It's called Weaken, which was burden, drain strength, and weakness to magic. And then there was Unbalance for drain agility, damage fatigue, and weakness to magic. And there's 10 total. There's a huge ass ini file for modifying all the stats for it. It's not really necessary, but basically the stats change to reflect the weapon type. So I'm training blunt, I'm using blunt weapons. This can be whatever. And I do mean whatever because you've got your two-handed blade, one-handed, two-handed, blunt, one-handed, but you also have your bows and staffs too. And this all just like dynamically changes the stats in game using Script Extender. Oh, not enough charge. Well, how unfortunate is that? Oh, is it really still alive? Eh. I also have some in-game keybinds so you can quick swap back to the last weapon form that you chose, so I can swap between staff and the axe I just had. You can also have a keybind to show the name in the upper left, but other messages, so that if you use the random key and get a shape that you like, you can get what the name is and find it in the menus. And then because Oblivion's UI only shows up to 8 effects max on stuff, like, where was it? The buff. This has 20 effects on it, but you only see 8 because of the UI limitation, so I have a key to display the message box, which gives you all the details on the enchantment. And then there's also a console log for XP gained, with the blue text giving you a bit more information about the XP you just gained. It's just a combat log. It's because with 1.6, you can actually sacrifice weapons for XP to it. So yeah, for consuming the Ebony Short Sword, I got 80 XP. And right now, my weapon is at 66. I tried to balance the XP curve so it's roughly in tandem with the player leveling. It's like it should be about level 10 when you yourself are about level 10, hopefully. I don't know. I've only used it on this character, which is already way over leveled. And I haven't gotten complaints yet on the mod page about it leveling too fast, so I'll assume everything's normal. For now. Yeah. This is like, I set it up so that about level 25 should be on par with a Daedric weapon. So 66 makes it way beyond what your vanilla weapons can do. As it levels up, the damage increases, the weight increases, the durability increases, and the speed also very marginally increases. Enough so that you don't really notice it from level to level, but like over a long period of time, you'll definitely feel it's gotten faster. This is definitely not how fast a war axe should swing. This is way faster than it, because we level 66. Okay, actually, if I have a war axe, no, I've just got arrows on me. Well, if I stumble across a war, actually, I might have one on the war chest. Yes, a mod gave me a dungeon mod that I really liked. As the final reward, gives you a pocket tower. Just drop it on the ground and activate, and it spawns a tower that is a portable player house. But I really like that mod. Do you have a mace? Do you have a short sword? Oh, what? I'm trying to decide what to show it to you with the speed difference. Here's a war axe. So here we are, the war axe speed. And you can hear the difference too. The whooshing sound. It's probably a bit better to easier to tell with like a claymore or something that should be slower. Where is it? Do I have a claymore though? Don't think I do. Do have a warhammer though. And I'll just change that shape to flanked, I guess. Yeah, so your warhammer swing speed's pretty slow. And then we go to his Farragon. And this is about longsword speed. Just going by the sound. Alright, so back to that new iron axe. And now to put away... Oh, welcome back. I didn't know you were gone. And I just explained, or gave a rough explanation about some of the mods I was doing while you were gone. Womp womp. Alright. Still need to figure out... Oh right, there's that pool inside the fringe. That's why I came here. I didn't pick up any life signatures while I was here, so he's probably not. But whatever. I'm gonna do this systematically. Time to check. Nope, he's not here. Let's see, now where to go next? You know what? I'm gonna try Fort Snowmoth and maybe Zendria too. Maybe they might have seen him. Well, there shouldn't actually be anybody at Fort Snowmoth, so if I see any life signatures there that are humanoid, that's probably our guy. But Zendria should have people there. And they might have seen him. I don't know. Let's get the marker. Move it. There we go. So I don't know how much of my explanation you missed, but the very brief of it is that this mod is a weapon that the more you hit things with it, the stronger it gets. So over time, it should grow about in parallel with the player's level. And it will, of course, at this point, it's the strongest weapon in the game. And it's just going to keep growing. Wait. It's a camp I haven't seen before. But I know I've explored the Isles before. So this is new. This is the guy we're looking for. Of which we can barely make out his face through the detect life. Actually, I think there's about 20 seconds left, so if we can back out of this, we can. Okay.
Take care.
Yeah, it's like 15 seconds left on detect life, so I'll wait for that to fade. I probably can't shoot because I'm too close to the line of fire. There we are. Oh, I don't know if he was mad before or after he came to the Isles, but about when we're hitting water. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you're on the Isles, buddy. Well, no, you're not in Tamriel. No, it's not an Aronian Atoll, it's my realm. It's my realm that I took over like a month ago. I'm still getting the hang of it. Yeah, believe what you want. I mean, I came here on an errand, so oh well. Tell me more. Well, I know where about 3 of them are. You're the 4th Malmer I've seen. 14 people? Oh boy. Wait, the level they're It was already paid for. Alright, what's the price? Smoked pollywog leg. And 10,000 septims. Do I even have smoked pollywog? I got the money, no problem, but like... Do I even have a smoked pollywog leg? Oh, I do. How convenient. Here, take it. Alright, and now we have a love letter from the 5th era. I do want to read it though, and I should probably save in case it disintegrates. This sounds like quite the trip. Love letter from the 5th era, the true purpose of Tamriel. Hello everyone, while visiting the demons of the hate last night, I was handed the document that follows. I was drunk, so I can't describe the carrier, but I can verify that it is indeed from the 5th era of Tamriel from an author unknown to me, even in visions. It will be of interest to many lore scholars here. Indeed, since it concerns Vivek's Scripture of Love, it was very much of interest to me. Enjoy. Alt Sotha below, 5E 911. Of Soul Progenitor House, duly noted under the Digital House. Whirling School Perfect approved. Chronicle delivery, Solju count. I don't know how I... 18888-00-00-00-000. My name is Jubal Loonsoul of House Soul, whose name is known and heard throughout the Scathing Bay and the 9x9 Thrones. Our lord is High Alma Jaroon of House Jaroon, whose city is the first city of New North, for all who went under from landfall settled and made peace with the worm, when we were not 81 separate peoples but one, carrying the tibrals on our back together and cutting tunnels by the lights and heat that all wore, with equal dust in every mouth. My family's name comes from the first child born in the Velathid, Hayakodol Sul, and, like him, we are salt merchants. Our crest is the tusk of the bat tiger. Our bloodline is registered by Coda. The digitals say we come from another star, but so many have forgotten. I have not, for my lineage granted me audience with memory, and I have spoken with the wheels of Lull. I have seen proof, as any who come up during landfall season, when the winds die down enough above that all may make pilgrimage under the banner of Vec and Vec. Though many above have renounced memory, they too remember. I tell you now, brothers and sisters of the coming forth, that the Holy Scripture of Love contains all you need to avoid the perils of the landfall. By chronicles granted by the Nears of Lull, this warning is given freely and by love. Sermon 35 begins properly. The formulas of proper Velothi magic continue in ancient tradition, but that virility is dead, by which I mean at least replaced. Truth owes its medicinal nature to the establishment of the myth of justice. Its curative properties it likewise owes to the concept of sacrifice. Princes, chiefs, and angels all subscribe to the same notion. This is a view primarily based on a prolific abolition of an implied profanity, seen in ceremonies, knife fighting, hunting, and exploration of the poetic. On the ritual of occasions, which comes to us from the days of the cave glow, I can say nothing more than to loosen your equation of moods to lunar currency. The coda broke when twice Vec appeared again from Aether, but they captured enough of him to render the word stable again. In this passage he describes the goal of the lunar god, who some of you still ascribe the name Lorcan. When stabilized, the words become proof. All creation is subgradient. First was void, which became split by Ea. Anu and Padme came next, and with their first brush came the Orbis. void to Orbis, not to pattern. Later, and by that I mean much, much later, my reign will be seen as an act of the highest love, which is a return from the astral destiny and the marriages between. By that I mean the catastrophes which will come from all five corners, subsequent other revisions, differentiated between hope and the distraught, situations that are only required by the periodic death of the immutable. Cosmic time is repeated. I wrote of this in an earlier life, an imitation of submersion. Immersion is love's premonition. Its folly into the underworld, by which I mean the day you will read about outside of yourself in an age of gold. For on that day, which is a shadow of the sacrificial concept, all history is obliged to see me for what you are, in love with evil. Marriages of the Aether describe the birth of all magic, like a pregnant, untranslatable. The Orbis exploded with its surplus. All formed, and with it the potential to action. This is the advent of the first digitals, Mantelian Nemolia, the ethereal realm of the Adada. The head of this order is Magnus, but he is not its ward, for even he was subcreated by the birth of Akatosh. Orbis to Aetherius, possibility to maintenance by time. To keep one's powers intact at such a stage is to allow for the existence of what can only be called the continual spirit. Make of your love a defense against the horizon. Pure existence is only granted to the holy, which comes in a myriad of forms, half of them frightening and the other half divided into equal parts purposeless and assured. Late is the lover that comes to this by any other walking way than the fifth, which is the number of the limit of this world. The lover is the highest country and a series of beliefs. He is the sacred city bereft of a double. The uncultivated land of monsters is the rule. This is clearly arrested by Anu and his double, which love knows never really happened. All calls this a refutation of sorts, but the wise may know it as the first appearance of Numantia, which is liberty, or rather the road to liberty. Another subcreation happened to the wheels of the Adada, ashore that all of creation crashed against, the terminus of limits known as oblivion. An echo of the void before, but unlike, many spirits fled here and came to power by merely harnessing the impossibility of limit us all. Aetherius to oblivion, creation to destruction. Similarly, all the other symbols of absolute reality are ancient ideas ready for their graves, or at least the essence of such. The scripture is directly ordered by the codes of Mephala, the origin of sex and murder defeated only by those who take up those ideas without my intervention. The religious elite is not a tendency or a correlation. They are dogma complemented by the influence of the untrustworthy sea and the governance of the stars, dominated at the center by the sword, which is nothing without a victim to cleave onto. This is the love of God, and he would show you more. Predatory, but at the same time instrumental to the will of critical harvest. The snare by which one becomes as he is, of male and female, a magic hermaphrodite. Begin to see the first inkling of emergence, which by its nature requires the merging of twofold powers. Inevitably, this leads to another gradient, but this time by forceful process, the trap of the lunar god. The Aedra are named at this time, having lent their hands to what was to be the arena of the eternally impossible, Mundus, the exactness, oblivion to Mundus, debris of all possibility to anchor of all things. Mark the norms of violence, and it barely registers, suspended as it is by treaties written between the original spirits. When one visits memory, you become filled with the first ideas of Lord God, and see the trap within the trap. Vec knows it at this point and sees for all of you, and realizes the need for treaty, avenue of escape, first stone. Coda translation. If all previous gradients continue along this path, especially given that there is now a center point, impossible mundus, the process of continuation can be prefigured. The echo of the void is oblivion. The echo of oblivion is now mortal death. Death results in reappropriation of spirit towards its aligned either to the god planet Aedra or the principalities of oblivion. Vec's name for this transaction mentioned above is lunar currency. Aechim numen numantia. Mundus tomorrow to death. Center point to the lunar cycles. This should be seen as an opportunity and in no way tedious. Though some will give up for it, it is easier to kiss the lover than become one. Here we come to the scripture's greatest resignation, to imagine the subcreation after mortal death, which by pattern would mean an echo of Mundus, and through this imagining the failures of so many. The digital's record of the lunar god's involvement in all of this is called the Great Pain. The lunar god failed by his own devices to show the new progeny how they might not. You in the Fourth Era have already witnessed many of the attempts at reaching the final subgradient of all I, that state that exists beyond mortal death. The Numidium, the Endeavor, the Prolix Tower, Kim, the Enantiomorph, the Scarab that transforms into the new man. Simply put, as the gods cannot know joy as mortals, their creation, so mortals may only understand the joy of liberty by becoming the progenitors of the models that can make the jump past mortal death. And so many of you give up. Mortal death to Z, Z being a state gradient echo of Mundus Centrex, antonymic to the lower regions crawl with these souls, caves of shallow treasures meeting in places to testify by way of extension. And love is only satisfied by a considerable, incalculable effort. Those who do not fail become the new men, an individual beyond all I, unerased and all being, jumping beyond the last bridge of all existence is the last existence, the eternal I. I am. A whole world of you. God. God outside of all else but his own free consciousness, hallucinating for eternity and falling into love. I am and I are all we. Coded digitals have confirmed that a subject in sensory deprivation begins to hallucinate after only 20 minutes. Scale unto this along the magical spectrum and maintenance of time which is forever, you begin to see the lunar god's failure as greatest gift. As above, this is the love of God. Why love? No love to avoid the landfall, my brothers and sisters of the past. The new man becomes God, becomes amaranth, everlasting, hypnagogic. Hallucinations become lucid under his eye, and therefore, like all parents of their children, the amaranth cherishes and adores all that has come from him. I are all we, God is love, come to the house of we, God is love. One world in spirit, I am, God is love. And that is how the message ended. Do with it what you will, and freely discuss. I know what I am doing with it, but then I've been trying for years. Considerable effort, indeed. I barely understood it as I was reading through it as well. I can't give you a summary. Towards the end, it started to make a bit more sense to me, because it started touching on subjects I'm already a little bit familiar with. Only a little bit familiar with. If I really knew what this letter meant, I don't think it would be such a hot topic in the lore community. Towards the end, it started describing a kind of a way to become something higher than the gods. Although just barely, it was more so hinting at a way to become higher than the gods. Okay, time to turn on Tech Life and see what the heck's trying to fight me. Did I just kill this polylog? No, I see the other corpse over here. Okay, our 2 polylogs. Now 0. So how into the lore are you? Just depending on how much of the lore you already know, well, that influences my explanations afterwards. So boy, does the lore go deep. Alright, I can teleport. This is another modded spell, by the way. You don't get teleportation in the game, at least not without external assistance. speed boost. See if we can get to the... There we go. Frames are... Whenever it's done loading in the terrain, frame should come back. Till then, I'm just gonna keep skipping along the surface. Oh, I missed the jump. Oh well. I'll try skimming through the letter and explaining some stuff that I know. Wait, not that. That's the Daedric alphabet. Alright, so the start here just seems like a lot of stuff specifically from the 5th era. Anything that's capitalized is probably a being unto itself, or a core concept. Most likely a being, though. This first part, I really don't quite know. It also starts using the old language of the Elm effect. It starts using Elm effects here with the A. I don't know what that is. I know Kim is royal, and it's also used to describe one of the ways to ascend to godhood. But, yeah, I can't explain too much about the first half. The other is probably just another term for Aetherius, which you'd more commonly know as the afterlife, where all spirits would normally go. We don't really know too much about Aetherius because you have to go through Oblivion to get to Aetherius. Basically, Oblivion is infinity, then Aetherius is infinity plus infinity. It's a lot larger. We know that magic. So magic in the Elder Scrolls is not actually innate to everything. Rather, magic is something that radiates in from Aetherius. Magicka come from Aetherius. The sun and the stars aren't actually celestial bodies, but holes in Oblivion, where some of the original spirits fled to Aetherius as Mundus was being created, with the sun being the hole that Magnus tore. And that's where Magicka comes from. Yeah, you'd really have to, like, decipher this entirely if you want to figure out how. I mean, there are people that have ascended to godhood. Talos is one. Vivek is debatable, because he says he's achieved Kim, which would make him like a genuine god and not just someone who stole some of Lorkhan's power, like Alexia and Sotha Sil. However, Vivek is also a prolific liar, so we don't know if he's actually achieved Kim or not, because he's the only one who says he has. So it depends whether you believe him or not. Oh boy. As far as this mentions, this doesn't mention Akatosh or dragons that much, but we're all kind of the same thing, so... Gist of this is, at first there was nothing, just the void. Then we had, then it was Padme and Anu, which were darkness and light respectively. Their interplay start to create everything from there. That created a bunch of spirits, the Et Ada. The Et Ada are the original spirits, and Lorkhan was one of them, who you may also know as the Missing God or the Lunar God. And Lorkhan had a grand plan to create Mundus, the mortal plane, which contains Nirn, or... Yeah, that... Oh gosh. Oh gosh. If it helps you understand it, sure, but no, that isn't entirely true. So, Lorkhan had a plan to create Mundus, and you needed a lot of power to make stuff, because creation is not a power that is innate to the gods. he convinced a bunch of the Et Ada to help him make Mundus. And in making Mundus, a lot of them realized that in order to make the mortal plane, what we're playing in right now, they'd have to sacrifice themselves, if not completely. Creation comes at a price, a very steep price. So what we now call the Et Ada are the spirits who just gave up halfway once they realized the kind of toll it would enact on them. Or they wanted to live more than they wanted to make it. And the stars and the sun that we see are holes in the sky that they tore as they fled from this reality to wherever the hell they are now. And that's where Magicka radiates from. Now then, of the spirits that are left, there are the Daedra, which are those that never took part. The ones who said no from the beginning and retained their power. Those are your Daedric princes, those are all your lesser Daedra, those are everything that you give the name Daedra to. Those who stayed with the creation and survived became the Aedra, the 9 divines that we know them as. But one of the things is that in return for sacrificing so much of their power, the 9 divines also became mortal, so they don't really show themselves like the Daedra do. In fact, we aren't entirely sure if they're alive or not, and we aren't entirely sure if that actually matters, because apparently dead things can also exert their full power as well through some strange means I don't fully understand. So it may not actually matter if Akatosh is alive or not. I mean, I'm kind of trying to explain deep lore, and holy it's hard for me to explain too, because it's deep lore because you really can't understand it. What makes test lore so enthralling is the fact that they ask more questions than they answer. They barely answer anything, but they raise a lot of questions with all the texts that you read. Deep lore is going as far in as you can, and it extends a lot into your own personal theories because you don't have answers, you just have assumptions and implications from those assumptions. But yeah, about Akatosh and the Dragon Priests. Akatosh didn't really have to take a dragon form, but he did, because he felt like it. I'm guessing I haven't read anything to indicate why he chose a dragon form. But Akatosh controlling time is actually the strongest Aedra, and is actually stronger than any of the Daedra left. Like, Akatosh was stupid strong before he sacrificed so much of himself for Mundus. And he's still the strongest despite all of that. That's why none of the Daedra can really get in without getting invited. That's why we have the whole covenant between Alessia and Akatosh that keeps all the Daedra out. That just Akatosh alone can keep all the forces of Oblivion at bay. Unless some mortal decides to open up a tiny little back door with a portal or something. Then they can get in through that until the mortal's done. Whatever. But Akatosh enforces linear time. Time is not something that exists in TES. It is something that Akatosh, through his sheer will, enforces. Kvatch? Yeah. And fittingly enough, Kvatch is also where the chapel to Akatosh is. Or was. I guess is. It's still standing. But Akatosh is what enforces linear time on Mundus. This linear time does not exist anywhere else. Unless the Daedric prince ruling over that pocket realm decides there should be time, like Sheogorath. He decides there should be linear time in the Isles, and that's why there is. But where the dragons come from, this part, I remember reading about it once, so I'm recalling a little bit from hazy memory. just take it with a grain of salt, is that basically what I've heard is that Akatosh basically ripped off the end of his tail and used it to pin the beginning of time. The start of time is where his tail is. And then to pin the end of time, another part of his tail was cut off and turned into Alduin. And so Alduin is supposed to pin the end of the timeline. And all other dragons are just a piece of Alduin. Like how Akatosh made Alduin, Alduin made all the other dragons. Yeah, if you got that from UESP or another wiki site, you're not going to find too much of the deep lore stuff, because that you have to go onto either our test lore, or you have to really dig into the Imperial Library or in-game texts, or out-of-game texts. It's... because this stuff isn't widely... yeah, this stuff isn't widely believed by the player base, the populace, or anyone, so you really have to dig around for it. Yeah, Akatosh made Alduin, and Alduin made the other dragons. But Alduin, at some point, decided, I don't want to do my job. I'm just gonna go rule. I'm just gonna be lazy and rule the world. And that's why we have Alduin just being, the Alduin we know in Skyrim. Yeah, I only read that. I think it was in our test lore I read that. I forget. My memory on it is a bit hazy, but I did read that in a place I would find reputable. It was probably our test lore. I forget where all this was going. But I guess what you should keep in mind, little man, is that reality in TES is not a fixed thing. Reality in the TES universe is wishy-washy. In the fact that if someone with enough power believes something to be, reality will then bend itself to make that belief a reality. Which can be used to explain a bit why all these historical documents say Cyrodiil was a jungle, but now we're here and it's not, because enough people believed, either wanted it to be better, or just believed it wasn't a jungle, and so it kind of became not a jungle, because enough people believed so. Yeah, I mean, just at a very small scale, just take alteration spells. You're believing that you have protection, you're believing that you're lighter, you're believing that there's light. Then reality is bending itself to make that belief real. Well, every single person kind of exerts influence on reality. It just depends how much command over Magica they have, as of just how much influence that is. But the towers, your white gold tower, your adamantium tower, your crystal tower, the key towers throughout the worlds tend to focus that kind of reality bending will that the masses have, and alter the surrounding landscape to kind of fit that collective agency. Yeah, the Tiber Septim did have enough of a willpower on his own to alter reality. He may have managed to commandeer the White Gold Tower and use that as a focal point, but we also know he got the Numidium, which I don't know the inner workings of it. I'm not sure anybody does, but the down low of it is the Dormer built a giant robot, and that's the Numidium, and it's powered by we don't quite know what. But it's basically enough so that if you can power Numidium and control it, you can basically rule the world. That thing's stronger than Alduin. Well, it's not... Is it? I don't know. I know of the Godhead, though. I know... I know that all of Tessa's reality is really just a dream of the Godhead. Like, it kind of actually mentions this in this love letter. I'm going to try and find the paragraph. Yeah, this here was a part about the lunar god with Lorcan, where he gets the other at Ada to make Mundus. Yeah. Those who... this was... It's around here. Okay. Nothing. It's kind of... it seems to be a warning letter that was sent back in time to try and help the people of the Fourth Era overcome whatever calamities are coming. And part of that warning is some hints on how to ascend above godhood. Not to above godhood. To go beyond mortalhood and to something next. Wherever the heck the Fifth Era is. Yeah, here it is. Coda Digitals have confirmed that a subject in sensory deprivation begins to hallucinate after only 20 minutes. Scale unto this along the magical spectrum and maintenance of time, which is forever, and you begin to see the lunar god's failure's greatest gift. So the idea is that there's some god, we don't know who, we don't know what, we just know that there is a god that exists that is dreaming. And the entire test universe is its dream. So we are all a part of the Godhead and a part of the dream. And Kim, the state of Kim, is kind of realizing you're in the dream. And instead of waking up, you become a bit of a lucid dreamer and exert your control over the dream. It requires a tremendous force of will, as well as tremendous narcissism, because in the face of realizing the truth that you don't exist, because it's a dream, but then asserting, I do exist, having the narcissism to do that is required. But with that, you can avoid zero-summing, which is what happens when you realize you're in the dream, realize you don't really exist, and then you just wake up. But because you yourself don't exist, then that means you just pop out of existence. And nobody remembers you because you never existed. Ah, shit. I just saw the bitrate go to 0 for a while. That was very concerning. Okay, that's really wild and out there, but also that's not something I'd inherently disavow as untruthful either. Like, I can see that fucking happening. It's just how goddamn wild Tesla is. But yeah, because all of this is... The more commonly held view, though, is that this is a dream of some type of godhead. And because it's a dream, that means, like any dream, reality is whatever the heck you make it to be. Whether you subconsciously are molding it or consciously molding it. have to find the Malamar that were part of the shipwreck crew, so...
Well met.
Oh, really? Hmm. Maybe you look up Ninth Era or something. Man, I'm just seeing the bitrate go to 0 for like a few seconds there, here and there. Like, when I alt-tab from Oblivion to go type into chat to tell you guys the bitrate 0, that's exactly when the bitrate goes back up to normal. So I don't really know what's going on with that. Oh, come on. I already gave you, like, bread, oranges, meat, and other... Fine, I'll go get a pumpkin. Okay, that sounds like Elnifex. I don't know the Elnifex language, but I do know it's always in all caps, and they sound like names for a bit. I don't know, there's a specific... It's easy to recognize Elnifex, even if you haven't seen the word before. Actually, I should get a mark here. Make travel easier. Also, welcome back, not bored. Belated as it is, because I haven't seen you here in forever. Alright. Speed boost inside is not good. I move so fast, and such a small space. Control is a very, very major concern. Space elves. Eh. Right, where? Oh, right. Ingredients. Okay, where is Pumpkin? Alright, P is after... Oh. Pumpkin! Oh, really? That's what was up. Well, I'm open to trying different times. Mostly I aim to stream early enough to get to mesh with the viewer schedules, but late enough so that potential interruptions, like external interruptions to my stream, are asleep or just away. Yeah, I mean, like that whole Ninth Era, it's just the concept of, like, elves are all special and stuff is what really doesn't jive with me. It goes with the whole racial supremacy stuff that just, doesn't... I think just as an American, it doesn't sit well with me. Since we have the whole racial tension stuff drilled into us from our education. It was like, more elves? Come on. Oh well. Well, what can you say? Gave you a pumpkin. Well, the thing about space is technically it's not space in our sense, where it's beyond the atmosphere to other planets. Space is more so the actual Oblivion. Like the space in between the realms, which we went to in like the second era. Or was it the second era? I don't know, the Battlespire. Battlespire is actually a spaceship. It's not what you think of when you think of the word spaceship, but yeah, that whole thing, it went through Tess's equivalent of space. So basically, anytime you hop planes, hop dimensions into another plane of oblivion or something, you're technically an astronaut. I mean, space travel really does ring very preposterously when you really... It first jumps to mind with Tess, but when you think about... When you have what's explained what space actually is in universe, and then you realize, oh, we've been space traveling all along. I don't get why you keep liking everything to Kvatch. Also, hi Sobit. Also, this is off the map, because I've got the borders turned off. So I can just go on to, well, this is really what Oblivion should be like, right? As far as how it's going, we were in the middle of a bit of deep lore discussion because I found the Mao Mer from the last stream and we got the love letter from the 5th era and I read it and I barely understand it. And these guys watching understand it even less. When you say the word such, the first thing that comes to mind is Fort Such. Oh, maybe you understand it more. I just know Lowman has not at all experienced the deeper parts of lore yet. Yeah, I remember that much. I remember looking into Such a little bit. That there was supposed to be a city. Yeah, that is what happened. I wonder if there's a mod that adds it back. It would conflict with the Dark Brotherhood, though, because they added the quest in there instead. Alright, I need water breathing, and water breathing comes with Detect Life, because that's just how my spells work right now. Oh, okay. That could help. Moral tag. That would be cool. Because I am planning to do Maskar's Oblivion Overhaul for the next playthrough, and that'll have a lot more mods. Because I already have a bunch of mods lined up that I want to do, but not doing for this playthrough, because A, it could make this far too unstable to install them midway, but also, new playthrough. The time saved for them. Like there's the Better Dungeons mod, Better Cities, maybe Better Cities. I don't know if I'm doing that one. Better Landscapes, other things. Oh. Kind of? I mean, I've only ever seen slaughterfish underwater. I've heard of dreg. I never see them. Okay, so I think we have one confirmed dead. speaking of mods, I should be releasing 1.6 of Rogue Weapon Deuce Faragon tonight. Which is the weapon I'm using. Have you seen this before? I know you haven't been here for a while, so I don't know if you're here. I might have actually like fully... depending on how long you were gone, I may not actually know. Damn. It would have been a long time ago since I last saw you. Yeah, at the start of the stream, if you go back and watch the replay afterwards, you'll see I did some of the last coding work. Yeah, so over a month ago at this point, I released a mod. Actually, a few mods. Shurifen was first, then Agramon, and then Dusfaragon. They're all building on the same thing, just a growth weapon. So the more you hit things with it, the weapon gains XP, which is here in the console log. And then it'll grow stronger over time, so about level 25 should be equivalent to a Daedric weapon. And on top of that, you can also change its form. There's like close to 400 forms now. Yeah, I really am. Although, I got the most views when it was on the mod of the Hot Mods page. And since then, it's really died down, the traffic. But still there. Yeah, with the updates, I try to keep them a bit large. So, it starts off unenchanted, so you can repair it at low level. And it comes with an extensive ini file. I'm gonna have to, like, find the... I'm gonna pull up desktop, because I have the OBS chat covering over the desktop shortcut. So I'll just go here. Should be... Yeah, here we are. This is where I keep all the files. Yeah, I kept the weapons in the realistic side. There are a few crazy ones, but not super duper crazy. Now, where was it? Oh, right, ini file. So this ini file, which opened up on the second monitor, you can change the name. You can change all the stats, the base stats, the growth rates. It actually changes its stats depending on the weapon type that you have. So it's balanced in that regard too. So you can change the stats for that. The enchantment, you can change what level the enchantment starts, because it starts off at level 1. So this would be 10 level ups afterwards. And then there's the re-enchantment, because there's 10 enchant options with these effects. It's per effect with the cost, growth, and stuff. Because some enchant bundles overlap effects, so that way you don't have too much increasing cost. And get new ones. You can get the charge and the growth rate per level, the XP rates, so like this determines the XP requirement per level up. This is how much you get for hitting enemies, for power attacks, hit him with a bow, hit him with a staff, level cap. This is for the new feature in 1.6, which is the fact that you can actually feed Deuce Faragon weapons. Yeah. Dustfang and Nonfang in vanilla. So with this base, this is the new thing. I also added a few more forms. So with it, I also added in some blunt stuff. Like I added in some Kanabos that I found. I went around looking on the Nexus for some blunt weapons because there's a hell of a lot more swords than there are not swords. Like some more battle axes and war axes, like one new hammer. You have the bows and staffs under marksman. Of course, you do have random form too, because there's so many, just in case you really can't decide. And because this only shows 8 effects in the UI, I also have it where you can, by default, it's control right-click to get a message box that shows you the active enchantment, the one that's currently growing, and then all the effects. You can also do shift right-click to get the name in the upper left, in case you do random and want to know what the name of the form is so you can find it. So that was under a longsword. Yeah, basket help. What else was there? Alright, I don't think I was quite done with the Innie. Almost done, because that was the new thing. Also, if you, in the rare case that you end up actually breaking the weapon, it'll de-level, and by default, it'll just go all the way back to level 1. And reset everything. And then we have the key bindings. So this is for the menu key bindings, so if you right-click it, you do your stuff, and there's left control, right control, in-game key binds, and then script delay, because this affects how long you have to hold the keys during gameplay, and a list of key codes. At the moment, it's just placed in your inventory. I do plan to eventually, or rather, I hope to eventually get around to adding a quest, but for now, it's literally just, as soon as you boot it up, it gets added to your inventory. The flag is, if the global level is 0, then set level to 1 and add to player inventory. That's what it's currently at. I think if I make a save so that I don't screw up my own globals, I can just show you. Should be... if I get rid of the gibberish. Level to 0. And then next time the scripts update, it should get added. Or not. I don't know, but that should... There's copies of the scripts inside the mod too, so you can actually look at all the code. The manager is the main one. So, it's all just coding, commenting stuff, then declaring variables. It's a lot of variables. Initializing, and here we are. This is what we're talking about. So this is just, if the level is 0, then we add the item to you, set level to 1, and then we just display a message that says it's been added to your inventory, basically. I made a lot of scripts for this. This is like a month and a half of work. I will load the save, though. It's Oblivion's scripting language, which is closest to C. Not C++, just straight C. And it is with the Oblivion... It's with the construction set extender install, so I can use the Oblivion script extender, or OBSE, functions in here as well, which this would not be possible without, because I need those to do things like change weapon types and change stats. Well, JavaScript is kind of similar to C++, and C++ contains everything C has, but JavaScript to C is probably too big of a leap to make comparisons. Let's see, there's any. But yeah, the other stuff I added, I think, in the 1.5 update were the in-game keybinds and the fact that you can change them. HTML. Well, thanks for coming. It's nice chatting with you, and good luck with your own Oblivion playthrough. Right, so in-game keybinds, there is random from the menus, but I also have keybinds that can do random in-game too. And then also display the name of it in-game, again, for the same purpose of finding it in the menus. You can also, just for the heck of it, you can also just look at your enchantment in-game. And then you can also do a quick swap, which is by default is V. So it just goes back to the last form you had. So you can do like a bow and then a melee weapon, and they can just quick swap between the two. Now I'd have to upgrade it to... I'd have to force the level ups in order to show you the enchant options, which I'll just do. I do have the save right there. So there are little messages in the upper left that are meant to be immersive for when you get to the halfway point to next level and when you get a level up. I want it to be kind of silent and like you don't actually know if it's getting more stronger or not, but it kind of feels better type of way for it. So that should be 68, 9, 7. There we are. So these are the 10 enchant options. So each of these include 3 effects. This is fire, weakness to fire, and weakness to magic. Frost, weakness to frost, magic. Shock, weakness to shock and magic. This one is damage fatigue, disintegrate armor and disintegrate weapon, damage magicka, silence, and dispel. This one is drain strength, burden, and weakness to magic. This one you'll have to actually stick with for a while, because whatever enchantment you pick here is the only one that grows. All the other ones just kind of stop where they are. So they don't all grow in tandem. It's one at a time. But subject you have to stick with for a while because this one is command creature, command humanoid, and rally. And I have it be so that it starts off really low level, but if you stick with it, you'll be able to like command anything you smack with your weapon and turn it into an ally for like a while. Corruption is Frenzy, Light, and Soul Trap, because I initially didn't want to do Soul Trap because I didn't want to have a self-sufficient weapon. Then I'm like, why not, but include it with some downsides. So the Frenzy and this light should balance it out. Oh, well, it was brief, but see you tomorrow, Sobit. And then Unbalance is Drain Agility, Damage Fatigue, and Weakness to Magic. Because Agility is, according to the loading screen, supposed to affect knockback rate. We don't know what the formula is for that, though, somehow. So I don't know if it's actually true or not, but whatever. Just take its word for it. And then Siphon is Absorb Health, Absorb Magicka, Absorb Fatigue. So then if I do Siphon, and then go into here, you'll see here, you have Absorb Fatigue, Absorb Health, and Absorb Magicka. Got newly added. Now we have an even longer list. And because each of these effects have their own base costs and growth rates, the more effect bundles you add on, the less uses you have. So that's like 16 uses now. And if I go back, it's 20 uses. So there's a real incentive to just kind of pick fewer bundles. Of course, because there is this ini file here, you can also just kind of set all the costs to 0 and have an infinite use enchantment and make it as broken as you want. So this ini file gets, as it says up here, this gets read every time you load a save. So you don't need to quit game and change whenever you want to change stats. You just change it in here, then load a save, and those changes will take place. So to show you what I mean, I can set the speed base 80. Oh, right, that's actually not inside. Forgot about that. This is actually the default ini I'm going to upload with the rest. I want to get the one that I pull from and have to get them from my game folder. Which also isn't quite up to date because I've also included inside the scripts. Yeah. You have default ini. So basically, I open up. Do I have manager already open? I do. Okay. So basically, up here, when it's initializing variables, it reads from the default ini first. This script here, which is just a copy of the default ini. Oh yeah, if you install the one tweak mod. Where was it? Yeah, one tweak. This allows you to alt-tab from Oblivion. It's so helpful. So damn helpful, especially because how much I alt-tab. But yeah, So this is just a copy of the default ini in script form. It even has the whole begin function, so basically this just calls it and initializes everything with default values. And then immediately after that, it calls your ini, the one that you have in, not there, in here. So this I don't really bother to update while I'm making my updates, because I just need to edit the default, and then this is pretty close to default. I go in here and I set this to like 80. I load the save. I'm swinging right now. So you can set the reach to 50. I mean, if you really want to. What I'm saying is you can make this weapon as absolutely asininely broken as you want, or not. It's your choice, because you do have all the options in the ini file. The sound even broke. So yeah, just to show you, it still is 80, because as I said, it reads from that every time you load a save. So that's this. After I do this update, I plan to start on growth armor, which will again have all the basic stuff. It'll have, I'm not entirely sure how to do enchantments. I know for like resist elements and resist magic, I'm going to have it be like every time you take so much damage of that element, you get like 1 point resistance to it type of deal, instead of growing the resistance. So that should feel more balanced. And not entirely sure I'll do other enchantments like Fortify Strength or whatnot, but there should be form change. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do the whole balancing between heavy and light variants though, because I have the weight be constant on Deus Varagon, or no matter what form you pick, the weight is always the same. And that doesn't really fly for balancing armor, because if you exclude weight, the only difference between light and heavy armor is the armor, so then heavy is just automatically better than light. So I'm gonna probably have to modify the weight. So yes, I plan to release this. Oh right, the thing I was going to add, I don't have any weapons on me. But yes, this update I worked on, I plan to release tonight. Or within the next 24 hours, basically. So if you have Deus Varagon in your inventory, actually I want to check if this actually works. Yeah, it doesn't. Cool. Yeah, if it's in your inventory and you right-click a weapon, you can offer it. I guess there is. But the main difference is really like weight versus protection, and therefore speed versus protection, because weight does influence your running speed. Yeah, you can offer weapons up to Deus Varagon, which consumes them, and it, as you can see, it just removes them from inventory. And the console log actually gives you, I can get a good background for it. Yeah, it gives you a big chunk of XP, which is correspondent to the current durability of it. So if you repair it to 125, you'll get more XP than if you didn't. And the blue text will just tell you what the XP came from. It'll be combat log that came from the just combat hitting things. Like, where is it? There's my summon spell. You get the +1 from combat log. And it sacrifices one at a time, because there is just a weird-ass engine bug. when you try to sacrifice one of a stack that I took a whole fucking day to try and figure out how to make it do just one at a time. Yeah, so that way I was like, I wanted it to be higher tier stuff, gives you more XP, and I thought a bit about what stat to look at to determine higher tier. Like, it could be damage, could be weight. In the end, I went with durability, and not total durability, just current durability. So that way, like, if you try to sacrifice a half-broken weapon, you get less XP than sacrificing a normal weapon. It's kind of like it's absorbing the material of the weapon into itself. And the default absorption rate, I tried to balance keeping in mind the amount of XP you get from combat. Oh yeah. Oh boy. Also, like, a little known bug with that is the fact that I can't actually get the exact item you're looking at in your inventory. I can have a function from OBSC that says get active menu selection, which will tell me that I'm looking at a Gromite arrow, but it won't tell me which Gromite arrow which specific Gromite arrow I'm looking at. Which is an issue, which shouldn't be an issue usually, because normally they're all in the same stack. So if you have 13 Gromite arrows, they're all together. But with Oblivion, I wonder if it'll happen with this. No, it didn't. Actually, I know how to do it with console commands. Actually, I think I can reproduce it with console commands too, with the exact bug I had to deal with. Alright, not just Claymore. Daedric Claymore. So you have 3 Daedric Claymores, and if I repair one, it's still the same ID, but it's a different stack now. And the other bug that's just really weird is now it's 3 stacks, even though they're all the same weapon with the same durability. Like, what the fuck? Anywho, this makes, if I say, then do player.remove item. Just one. Oh, I probably misspelled it. Yeah, I did. A before E before A. So it says it got removed, but they're still free in my inventory. This is the bug I had to deal with. Move 2, they're still 3 in my inventory. But if I remove all 3, now there's none. The other thing was I used to have is if I'd say sacrifice this, you'd get 1 Ebony Warhammer's worth of XP, but you'd lose all 3 because they were all in the same stack. Those were the bugs I had to deal with to get this to sacrifice just one at a time. And how I worked around that is I just, because there's no way to have it not take the whole stack, so I just get a count of how much is in the stack and what the durability is. So I just take the whole stack, then add back the entire stack minus 1. And that's how I do it. Like, if I show it with the Claymores again, should work well. Yeah, it actually, like, and unlike player.remove item, this actually works. The first bug of, like, I can't tell exactly which one of these 2 Claymores you're looking at, no, I can't do that. I don't have the functions. Like, what happens is if I sacrifice this one, it actually sacrifices the one above it. Because I can tell you're looking at Daedric Claymore, I can't tell which one you're looking at, though. So when I get the inventory references for Daedric Claymores, I just pull off the first one on the stack, which is usually the highest durability one. That's the only bug left with it, and that one I just can't solve unless OBS releases a version 22 or something. I'm just going to keep that XP. Anyway, I plan to have that weapon eater functionality at the start for the growth armor, which will help with you I mean, you can use console commands to level it up. There's instructions in the readme text, wherever the heck I put it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in the readme text, I have instructions here for leveling up a weapon, in case you want to have it start like level 25 because you're already level 25. So method 1 is pretty short, but involves using loading saves to do it. So basically, like, the gist of it is you first off make a save, so you have a point to load. That's not too far back. Then you just use the level up to get what the XP requirement is to get to the level you want. Then you load back the old save, and you just set the XP to that XP requirement, and it'll just go through all the level up scripts. All the loops. This one involves setting all the globals to the proper amounts, and you only need to save and reload at the end in order to force the recalc on the stats. And then de-leveling via console commands. But you can also make use of the whole breaking the weapon part to de-level it too. And then over here, this is a longer description that explains everything in depth. The mod page has very brief descriptions in case you're one of the people that likes to, just kind of discover how things work and be like, oh, so that happens, instead of actually knowing what's going to happen. Yeah, so that feature was added with the upcoming update, and then just a few more blunt forms. Right, so we need to start heading northish. Along the water. I've already kind of forgotten her name, but I remember it started with an M. Yeah, my current one is level 66. I've been playing with it for a while, but I haven't had it since the start of this playthrough, obviously, because I started this playthrough in like October or something, and I made this mod in like February. Still, I think it's pretty high level though. Now, if I add on if I make it necessary to have conscribe webs library, because that is another mod that extends some script functionality too. I have it because the darn UI config add-on requires it, so I don't have to reset my UI every time I load game. But if I add that as a requirement to do Spheragon, I could add code where it can actually take on the form of stuff you feed it. Because right now, all the forms it has, I have to hard code. Because the code has to know the exact path to it. Then I bundle these all in with the mod, so it's standalone. You don't need to download anything extra. But I could, with conscribe, set it up so that you can just feed it weapons, and that'll add more forms to it. The problem with that is just the menu code, because I'm not sure how I dynamically generate all the menu buttons for it. So I can definitely hard code in like a slot or two, or like specifically like the last weapon you fed it, you can shapeshift to that form. In case you have like another mod that you really like, but I didn't include it. But I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do that. It's not this update. That's just something that maybe I could do. Because the problem with it isn't that I can't change the form to it, because I can with OBSE. It's just the fact that because I can get the model path of the weapon that you're going to sacrifice. I can do that. I can get all the information about the weapon you sacrifice. All of its stats. Its model path, its icon. The problem is how does that persist between play sessions? Which is also why you can't enchant it either. Because if you try to enchant Spheragon before it gets its own enchantment, it just undoes it. It refunds you the soul gem and the sigil stone, whatever you used. It just undoes its own enchantment. And that's because when you enchant an item, the game creates a clone of the item and assigns the enchantment to that, giving it a new dynamic ID. And while I can get that ID with OBSE, I have no way to save that ID. So as soon as you quit game, I have no fucking idea what that ID is anymore, and I can't get it again. So if the scripts can't find the weapon, they can't change the stats, nothing works. And that's why you can't enchant it. But with Conscribe, I could, because Conscribe allows me to output to a text file. So I can get the ID, the new ID, and then output it to an init, to a file. And then I can read from the file next time you load game. And I have no idea how far north I need to go. We're already way off the map, because that's just... This would not be a normal scenario. Yeah, it's the same thing with getting the weapon model, because I can get it, and I can have it copy the shape, but as soon as you quit game, I don't know what the texture path is anymore, because I couldn't save it. Why is the water so clear, though? I didn't change the turbidity setting in the ini. Like, it should be this dark, but weird. Yeah, writing to file I wasn't that fond of when I was loading C++ either. But here's the only way to get around storing things that I just can't store. Oh, that was really bad then. Yeah, so the thing with Oblivion modding is that the only thing the game saves are globals. Out of all the stuff I can write, I can create and edit with the scripts, only the global values are saved. Everything else gets scrapped once you load a save or you quit the game. And I can only make globals that are shorts, longs, or floats. I can't make a string. I can't make a reference ID. I can't save those. And I've tried just storing a reference ID inside of a long global. It doesn't work. You get gibberish back out. But Conscribe allowing me to write to a text file would solve those issues. Well, the issue with global variables is that there's no security on them. Like, they're really convenient, yeah, but, like, you don't know if another file is modifying it at the same time. Like, I think when you're doing personal projects, you won't run into the issue, but when you have multiple people on the same project, you're making, like, I don't know, a company code, something that has, like, millions of lines of code, you have a lot of things running in parallel, and if you have global variables, then that stuff could be changed at any time by anything. And that's why people don't like them. Because there's just no security in the global variable. You don't know if it's the same value you just had or not. Which is why I know in C++, when we use globals, we tend to also make them const or static. So that way they can't be changed no matter what. Something you can easily access from any file, but nobody can change it. But in Oblivion, that's not the case, so I just have to be careful. Also, in Oblivion, it's... Ooh, oh boy. Because it's kind of the C style, I can't actually pass too much info between functions, so I actually have to make some stuff globals or do some dot notation to pass values. Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue, because that's relatively small. I mean, as a student, that's actually kind of a large file, but overall, for, I think, professional coders, that's not that big. Yeah, for you it's pretty good. For me, it's a necessity. I would rather not use them, but it's the only thing that gets saved, so... Also, it's the only thing you can access from the console as a player. The ini file allows me to use dot notation, which is this. So if I attach a script to an object or a quest, then I can basically say, this is the quest name. And then this is the variable for the script that's attached to it. And through that, I can call variables from other scripts, because you can only pass up to a maximum of 10 parameters to a function. And when you have so many different weapon type adjustments, uh, I'll just show the script stat adjust. So stat adjust has to modify has to tell the manager what specific weapon type adjustments we had to make for it per value for each thing. So I have to pass it in. So I would, if I could, pass in as parameters everything, all of those values, and then have it pass back the 6 values that I need. But I can't, because I can only return 1 value, and I can only pass in a maximum of 10, and I need to pass it like 36 or something. So instead I just have to do dot notation, which can get confusing. It already has caused issues before when I was factoring out some of the menu code, the model page, model TOC, and model change. Because all this code and these 3 functions used to be in Manager, and I factored it out in like 1.4 or 1.5. And with that, the dot notation caused some issues, because I'm like, this value is getting changed, but this function's not changing it. What the hell is happening? But it was actually because it was calling a function that would then cause dot notation to go back and change it. It's the same issue with globals. The same thing can happen with globals. That's why both these things aren't good, but I have to, because this is just very old code. Yeah, I don't think you can call that from here. I want to try it, though. Barebones init dot, I don't know, just damage. Yeah, that threw an error, and I think that's what. These are all attached to init, so I'll just get like, yeah, s enchant start. That should be, because that one's directly modifiable in any file. Oh, I can actually show it. Last time I tried that, I remember doing it, got the error like I did above. Yeah, if you want it to be good practice, then don't update your global variables. Unless you have to. Like, have you heard the term of getters and setters? Because that's like standard practice with classes and object-oriented programming. Like, you could do that for globals, because then it's like, oh hey, you call like your getter or your setter for the global, and maybe that has some kind of like turn-taking functionality in it. So if a lot of things that are running in parallel all call to modify it, then it can like do all the changes at once or handle it, whatever. Yeah. I know in C++, as I said already, we just declare all globals as consts, so they can't change no matter what. That's a slaughterfish. But just in case it's a Malamer. He said north, but I really don't know if he meant like north along the coast or if it's just north inland. Oh well, I guess I'll just go back to his position and then start heading north. Alright, so he's about here. I'm gonna start heading north. Let's draw a line north on the map, though. There are no lakes, but he does go into this river. That could be an idea. So I only went as far as Garlos Malatar because the terrain started getting weird and I thought it was like up here. Oh well, I'll just follow the shoreline then. Maybe if I go up the river, I'll find him. A detect live doesn't sometimes show when you're above the water. Like that. Like, I'm looking at it, and it only shows up when I'm underneath the surface. Reading from a file. You just reminded me about freaking data types and having to convert things to things that shouldn't exist. Oh boy. Oh, this is the shipwreck? Is this... I don't recall this shipwreck, and it's not a location anywhere. Is this... This probably isn't the Malmar shipwreck, but maybe it is. Yeah, no clue. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I remember thinking the same about some of my code. Where, like, I need to, I think it was model page. There was, like, model page, it was, like, we go into model change. And say here, like, I need to, in here, like, I need to check what button was pressed, and then I need to say, either set it to 4102, or go back to the previous page. I'm like, because I have to change the number every time. I can't make this a separate function. But after a while, it just kind of clicked, I can actually. So it follows a specific routine, so I can just add and subtract to it set amounts. And just have the specific one for if I have to go back to a previous menu. Then I do that. So now I have the model page function, which allows me to do paging code a lot easier. Like, I can just copy and paste blocks and just change all the little index numbers, and that's it. I have a lot of ini files I need to close. Why did I have the ini open like 4 times? Okay, I think that's... Yeah, that's everything. So, your code may be able to turn into a function, but you just don't see how yet. So it did take me a while to factor out that code into its own function. Like, I would love it if I had vectors in OBSE, which I might be able to do it with the arrays that the script extender hacks in, but with that I could make the code so much better. Yeah, like here, let's see. So, this menu code was a huge undertaking to do. Oh, into an array. Yeah, so I'm like, reading a text file into a string, isn't it already a character data? Yeah, if reading into an array and it's not a char array, and that could get difficult. But like this menu data, specifically like these, go for like a longer page. Long story, this one's really long. So like reorganizing these menus is such a pain in the ass. And having some freaking vectors would help so much. That's because anytime I want to change the ordering of those menus, I have to change this function. No, not this function, that's random model. I have to change this function, because this is the actual menu code. This is what causes those buttons in the message boxes to pop up. So I have to hard code the name of each of the buttons. And then I have to recode this one, because of course I have to hard code the names in for when you get the name in the upper left. Change that function too. And then I also have to change set model function, in which I'll have to basically reorganize these and then have to change the indices for everything and everything afterwards. So if I move something up to the beginning, I have to change like freaking 70 indices. Well, up to 70 indices. Because I reorganize stuff, so I just really... I kind of dread adding new things to it. I do it anyways, because more options. If I had a vector, I could just have like a 4-dimensional vector that has like the model path, the icon path, the name, and the type. And then I could just have, okay, set model is just whatever is in vector position 4014, get the model path, and the icon path, and the type. And then it doesn't matter what's in that position. I don't need to reorganize any of the code. And all this would be compressed into just one little state, like 3 lines where we just get data from the vector, and then I can just, to rearrange the order, I just have to rearrange the order in the vector. But I don't have a vector, so I have to do all of this instead. Yeah, I mean, and if I had a vector, actually, it wouldn't have a set size, so I could actually just keep adding things to that conscribe file, or you can just keep adding forms through eating stuff. And I could maybe even get the menu code to dynamically generate too, because with the menu code I can just say, for this specific button, just get the name from that spot in the vector. And same deal with the set model. I wouldn't have to change any of that code. I just have to rearrange the vector if I want to change order. I have a feeling he's not in either of these river branches. And he's somewhere on land, but kind of near water. Which is just going to be a pain in the ass to find, because there's no major water bodies in this part of Cyrodiil. Well, I could go back and talk to Akize. I'll check both these routes, though. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like my whole set model thing. Oh, boy. You do indeed know my plight. Okay, he's not here.
Any friend of Martin's is a friend of mine. How can I help you?
Oh, I can't ask you.
Busy.
Alright, what's the quest blog say? Okay, I can't go back to Mirkura because we're growing the tower, and if I go there, my massive magical signature could just destroy the tower because it's fragile right now. So I can't go there and deliver the love letter back, so we're gonna have that for like the next 8 in-game days or something. I'll decide to swim into northern seas. At least we have the name. Well, we're 3 hours in, and this may take a while. I think we got kind of lucky with Cyrilli and just finding him, but... both because the stream does have to come to an end at some point, and I think we've hit a point where it would just be kind of busy work and complaining about code. As fun as that is, I think here I'll call it a night. So, it was a blast. Even though it is a lot of complaining, it is fun for me to share my woes. Also rickrolls people. I bet it's in the links to the sources on the fish facts, where sometimes the link is to an actual source and sometimes it's to a rickroll. If not, that could still be a good troll. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. I'll be here tomorrow. And I should be releasing 1.6 tonight, whenever I finish updating the online documentation. You can show me? Well, then to send off the stream, please do. Oh boy. Am I gonna get spammed with fish facts from these stream onwards? That may actually be interesting. Maybe you should add Argonian facts in there too. And Maomer facts. Maybe even slowed facts. No, that would be a lot of work for you. That would. I know the pains of adding things to menus by hand. Alright, let's keep searching for a few minutes then. I should teleport instead of swimming over there. I know it's athletics training, but athletics is gaining like 1% per hour of running, which is absolutely absurd. I refuse to grind that long. Maybe just go teleport should work. There's a bug you'll very rarely encounter in Oblivion. Ooh, we're running. Where if you manage to exit water without actually breaking the surface, like if the water just stops, which is what happens out of bounds, then you'll keep swimming in midair. Well, it's not showing up on Restream chat, so... Okay. Given you're in chat, feel free to give the command. Okay, that's good. Thing is, I actually do like this song, so I can't say I ever get as pissed about it as other people may. Yeah, that is pretty good. As long as spam doesn't become an issue with it, I'm willing to keep that in my chat. With the Rickroll under our belts, I will save on top of the roof of my house. One of many houses. Have a great night. And never give you up.